The Washington Wizards are at 35.5 for the over. There's an under 36, which you can find at Circa Sports. So there are 36s in the market and 35s.5. So make sure that you shop around as always. What's your projection for the Washington Wizards?
I've got Washington 32 to 40 wins. I mentioned the Hornets for my 12 seed. The Wizards are my 11 seed. The books have them about even. They've got the Hornets slightly ahead. I have it backwards from that. I have the Wizards slightly ahead. I have Washington 21st on offense, 17th on defense. Very like the teams they compare to are every one of them is just very much a fringe play-in team, somewhere in that mid 30s ish range. There's a lot of veteran dudes on this team. Like there's a lot of guys that you'd be like, hey, I wonder if that guy's available. We could use a nice eighth man on our team. Washington's got a lot of eighth men on their team to just kind of be okay and stay afloat. The Wizards are just a stay away from me. This number, I think, feels exactly right, and I don't really know which direction it goes. It probably depends on Beal and Porzingis' health, and I don't want to predict that.
This is a preseason team for me. I want to see what they look like in preseason because sometimes you actually do get a good sense of things from everyone acts like preseason is useless. The game results are useless, but the overall vibe of how training camp is, does the team play with energy? Do they seem bought in? Is somebody made a big leap that everybody's like, hey, you know who looks really good in camp? The Wizards are a great candidate, I think, for this. So the roster's a mess, just in terms of, like you said, eighth men. But like, okay, again, I always get to like, how many NBA players do they have? Bradley Beal, NBA player. Taj Gibson, still probably an NBA player, despite being his 13th season and 400 years old. DeLon Wright, NBA player. Will Barton, NBA player. Corey Kispert, NBA player. Kyle Kuzma, Monte Morris, Denny Avdia, Denny Avdia, Daniel Gafford, Kristaps Porzingis, and Rui Hachimura are all NBA players. If you're like, yeah, but they're not good NBA players. Sure, but 36.5 is not a good NBA team. 38 wins is not a good NBA team. 38 wins is a fine, not great NBA team. And that's what you're trying to figure out here. Is like, if it all comes together, does this team win 41 games? Maybe 44? Oh, boy, that's a lot. That seems like a lot. But like 42 wins? Yeah, okay, sure. Like Beal had, like Wes Unseld had what looked more like the coach he was for the first half of the year than the second half of the year. Look, Bradley Beal bailed on the team last year to get surgery so that he could make sure he got his contract. Like that happened again. And so like that's part of it. They also traded off pieces because it was like, all right, we're not really going anywhere. Let's look at the long-term value. There's not like a lot of upside here in terms of being an exciting team you want to watch night to night. No. There's a lot of upside here for it being like, you know, it's just really solid Wizards. Like, yeah, they're just like 15th in offense, 15th in defense, and fine.
The Wizards, if you gave this roster to Greg Popovich, it would be like, oh, the Wizards are the 9 seed and we're watching them in the play-in right now. Oh, the Wizards are right in the mix. Like that's it. That's the roster. That is the Spurs you've been watching in recent years where they're just like, they're fine. They're okay.
Yeah.
They're decent. You got to actually try to beat this team. That's the Wizards.
And the number's 35.5.
Yeah.
Like Monte Morris, Bradley Beal, Will Barton, Kyle Kuzma, Kristaps Porzingis on the nights he plays. That can beat good. That can beat teams.
Oh yeah.
Like and then when I say that can beat teams, I don't just mean the bad ones. Like that can beat the good teams if the good teams having one of those nights where they're just like, we don't have it.
They were out a little partying a little too much the night before, or they just didn't show up mentally or whatever. This team is going to beat you that night. They're like, you talk about like the look in the mirror thing. The Wizards are a look in the mirror team. If you look and you're feeling a little haggardy that day and you're a little hungover from the night before, you're about to get beat by the Washington Wizards that night. That's what's going to happen to you.
Yeah, I agree. A couple other notes here. They were 12-6 in 3-point games last season, which you would suggest there's probably a regression. There's not. The win total actually tends to account too much for that, and there's a little bit of a bend to the over for teams that do well in 3-point game progression. The Wizards were 15-14 versus teams below 500 last season, which is not awesome, but it's also not horrible. That's a promising sign. It means that the team was actually able to handle things based off of like when it should win, it won quite a bit. Like I said, don't play it now. Let's wait till preseason. See what the vibe is. If it's like, oh boy, the Wizards look like a mess. Like they just don't know it. Like Rui's not ready, and all the there's an injury. Porzingis is hurt again. Like just wait, just let's see what they look like in preseason. But I do lean over. It might be a best bet for me if they look good in preseason.